or in case, so that you can hear me properly. Ne? So today we are going to start with an exponents. So we're going to be doing exponents. So this chapter is very important in QMI. Ne? Exponents. Okay, let me try to write it properly. Exponents. So when we talk about the exponents, if you have, let's say for example, I'm going to write a, yeah, this is going to be a to the power x. So when you have a to the power x, what it means here to a to the power x is that this a here, we call it a base. It's a base. All right, let me try to write properly. I'm not adjusted with my chair here. Okay, we call it a base, and this x, we call it an index, or we call it an exponent. It's an exponent. Exponent, we can say exponent. Okay, my table is not okay, it's properly seated. Okay, because my hand have to be, give me 1 minute. My hand have to be so proper. Yeah, now I think I will be fine. Yeah, I'm gonna be fine. So this is called an exponent, the x there. I will just say xp, it's called an exponent. Exponent. So what happens here is that when you have this a to the power x, you can be working on a number. So when you're working on a number, sometimes you can be written 2 to the power 3. Ne? When you see 2 to the power 3, this 2 here is your base. This is your base, and 3 is your exponent. So sometimes it can be 10 to the power of 10. Like maybe, for example, this 10 here is your base, and this 10 on top there with your exponent. So what happens if you have, for example, if we have to say 2 to the power 3, you are multiplying it by, let's say, 2 to the power 4 or 5 to the power 5, because if the bases are the same, because this is 2 and this is 2 also, if the bases are the same, so what you do, you add the exponent. So which means you are going to add the exponent. It's going to be 2 to the power what? 3 plus 5. 2 to the power 3 plus 5. And then 2 to the power 3 plus 5 is going to give you 2 to the power 8. 2 to the power 8. So because of you guys, you are the beginners in mathematics, you can be asking yourself, what is 2 to the power 3? When we say 2 to the power 3, we mean that you are going to say 2 multiply by 2 multiply by, again, 2. So that's why we say 2 to the power 3. So if you say 2, for example, you say 2 to the power 4. So 2 to the power 4, it means that you are going to say 2 is going to multiply it by 2 again. It multiply by 2. It multiply by 2 4 times. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what it means when we say 2 to the power what? That's what it means when we say 2 to the power 4. So we're gonna be doing also this. We're going to work more on these exponents of numbers first. So when we multiply, we said we add the exponent. So it can be 3, for example, to the power 2 multiplied by 3 to the power 4. I'm just giving an example with different base. The base here is 3 and the exponent is 2, and the base here is 3 and the exponent is 4. Because the base are the same, so it's going to be 3 to the power what? 2. You add the exponent. We do what? We add the exponent. 2 to the power 3 plus plus 4. So 2 to the power 3 plus 4, this is going to be equal to 3 to the power 6. 3 to the power 6. So 3 to the power 6 is the same as equals to 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 3 again multiplied by 3 is how many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again multiply by what? Multiply by 3. 3 times. So that's what it means when we say we are working with what? That's what we mean when we say we are working with an exponent. So I see you are back. So let me just explain again what we're saying. So when we say this is a base and this is an exponent. So in the base, I'm using variables. Variable, we mean letters. So when we say variable, it can be b to the power something. For example, I can write b to the power x. So the b to the power x, this is our base, this is our exponent. Sometimes I can say b to the power y. So this is our what base, and the y there is going to be our exponent. So this y is going to be our what? Y. The y is going to be our exponent. Let me write that y properly. Y is going to be our exponent. So when we're working with numbers, so if it's 2 to the power 3, this is 2 is our base and 3 is our exponent. So what does it mean when you say 2 to the power 3? It means that if 2 to the power 3 is equals to 2 to the power 3 is equals to 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2. For example, if you are multiplying the bases, like we're multiplying is 2 to the power 3, we are multiplying it with 2 to the power 5. Because the bases are the same, so what we're going to do, we are going to add the what? We're going to add the exponents. So when we add the exponents, it means that we are going to keep 2, then we say 2 to the power 3 plus 5. And 2 to the power 3 plus 5, if we say 3 plus 5 is going to be 8. Then with the answer, we're going to have 2 to the power 8. So I also give an example with 2 to the power 4. 2 to the power 4 is the same as you are saying 2 multiply by 2 multiply by 2 multiply by 2 multiply by 2, which is 4 times. If you count it, you're gonna see that is 1, 2, 3, 4. Then I also give what I also gave example when we are using not 2, we are using 3. It's 3 to the power 2 and multiply by 3 to the power 4. Because the bases are the same, then it's going to be the same as what? 3. You keep, if the bases are the same, you keep the base is 3 to the power, you add the exponent, which is 2 plus 4 is this 2 that we just added, and this 4. 2 plus 4 is going to be 3 to the power 4. And 3 to the power 4, 3 to the power 2 plus 4 is 3 to the power 6, because 2 plus 4 is 6. Then this means that you're going to multiply 3 times 3 times until 6 times. If you count them, you're going to see that we have how many? 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, until 6 times. So what this is about, what this is about, when the base are the same and when you are multiplying. If you are multiplying and the base are the same, what do? You add the exponents. Here we are working with numbers. So there is a time whereby we are going to be working with what? We are going to be working with we are going to be working with letters or variables. When I say variable, remember, when I say variable, remember it's going to be what? It's going to be letters. So do you have any question? Do you have any question? So if you do not have any question, then let's proceed with our lesson. So now we have, let's say for example, I have let's use 3 to the power 2, and then I'm multiplying it with 2 to the power what? To the power 3. Ne? So if you check here in this question, this base here is what? Is 3, and this base here is 2. So the bases are not what? They are not the same. If the bases are not the same, you cannot say equals to 3, then you say this is not equals to 3, and then you say 3 plus what? This 3 plus 2. This is wrong. It's wrong because of what? The bases are not the same. If the bases are not the same, it's either if you have 3 to the power 2 and you are multiplying it with 2 to the power 3, then what you can do, you can just write it as 3 to the power 2 multiplied by 2 to the power 3. So, and remember, when we say 2 to the power 3, 2 to the power 3, as I showed you, is the same as 2 times 2 times 2. So if we do a calculation here, 2 times 2 is going to give you 4, and 4 times 2 is going to give us 8. And then if you check, if we say 3 to the power 2, 3 to the power 2, 3 to the power 2 is the same as 3 multiplied by 3. So 3 multiplied by 3 is the same as 3 multiplied by 3 is the same as 9. So which means when you have this kind of question, you can just say this is the same as 8 multiplied by what? This results multiplied by 9. And 8 multiplied by 9, you can use your calculator to get the answer for that, which let's check if we use our calculator. What are we going to get using our calculator? So if we use our calculator, you're going to see that 8 multiplied by 9 equals to what? Equals to 72. We got 72, which means the answer is going to be 72. So if the bases are not the same and you are multiplying, you don't add them. You don't say you are adding the exponents. You just solve them as it is. So let's proceed now with different bases. So sometimes a question, you can be given maybe, for example, 4 to the power 3 multiplied by what? 5 multiplied by 5 to the power 1, for example, to the power 1. So this, or sometimes they don't really write 1. They just give you like this. The bases are not the same. So 5, remember, 5 to the power 1 is the same as you can just write what? 5. Every time when you see a number, if I write 1, just know that it have a power 1 there. If I write 2 like this, just know that there is 1 there. Just that we can ignore this 1. So now what we do, if you have this, you just have to solve it the same way I have shown you. You can first, okay, what is 4 to the power 3 is 4 times what? 4 times 4. 4 times 4, you can also use your calculator if you are using Casio. There are calculator for Casio. I'm gonna download the calculator for Casio. I will show you when we are dealing with it how you press your calculator for the powers. So but if you are not using a calculator, 4 times 4, you know it's going to be 16, and 16 times 4, you know that is going to be 64. This is going to be 64. And 5 to the power 1 is the same as 5. So which means it's going to be like 64. You multiply it by what? You multiply it by 5. By 5. When you multiply it by 5, then 64 multiplied by 5, you can use your calculator. So you can just say 64. You multiply it by 5. It's going to be equals to 320. So the answer is 320. So I hope in this lesson so far, you have learned how to, if the bases are the same, and you are multiplying, you have learned how to add them, you add the exponents. So now we're going to move when the bases, when we are dividing. So we just deal about what? We just deal with the multiplication. So let's go for division part. So for the division part, we are working with division. If you have 2 to the power 5, 2 to the power 5 divide by 2 to the power 3 is the same as, you can write it as 2 to the power 5 divide by, is the same as writing, this is the same thing. I'm just writing so that you don't get confused, 2 to the power 3. So if we are solving this, when you are dividing, we subtract the exponent. We subtract what? We subtract the exponent. We subtract the exponents. When we say we subtract the exponents, it means that if I have 2 to the power 5 divide by, if I have 2 to the power 5 divide by 2 to the power 3. So when we subtract the exponent, you're going to take 2, then you're going to say 5 minus 3. So you start with the one on the on the denominator. Remember, when you are dividing, the first down one is the denominator and the numerator. So when you say, because the bases are the same, you're going to keep the base and you're going to write 5 minus what? 3. So for Purufero who joined us now, you're going to watch the video for the part that we already covered, because we've covered a lot. So you will refresh, you will get back to the video to understand, but you will catch up what we are talking about. So if if you have an exponent like this way and you are dividing, we are dividing, and the base is, this is a base and this is a what? Exponents. So at Purupero, because we just join now quickly, if a to the power x, when you have a to the power x, this is, I'm just using as a variable. This a, we call it a what? We call it a base, and x, we call it an exponent. Exponent, when we use this, we can work with them with number, and we can also work with them with what? Variables. Variables are letters. So now when we are dividing, we do what? When we are dividing, we subtract the exponents. So when we subtract the exponents, it's going to, we are going to have 2. So it's the same as you're going to start with the exponent from the numerator side and you subtract with the one from the denominator side. So which is going to be 2 to the power 3. 2 to the power 3, 2 to the power 5 minus 3 is the same as 2 to the power 2. So 2 to the power 2, you will see it in the previous section when we started. 2 to the power 2 is the same as, you say 2 multiplied by what? Multiplied by 2. And 2 multiplied by 2 is what? Is 4. So which means you can conclude that the answer here is going to be what? The answer is going to be 4. So that's how we work with the division. So let me do more examples based on the division part. So you can have, let's say, for example, 10 to the power 3. You are dividing with 10 to the power negative, not negative, yeah, negative 2. This is very nice. So when you are dividing with that, remember, because the bases are the same, you will keep the base and you're going to say 3. Because we subtract, you're going to say minus what? Because we're subtracting by minus 2, minus 2. So minus 2. So when you do that, this is going to lead me in a section whereby I will have to give you some other, not really definition, but some other operations. So if you have negative, when you multiply by negative, multiply by negative, the answer becomes positive when you multiply. And negative, when you multiply by positive, the answer becomes what? Negative. And positive, if it's this side, multiply by, again, if when we do, when the way I'm writing this, I'm trying to say you can have a number. I will give you an example. The positive multiplied by negative still is going to be what? Negative. And positive multiplied by positive, we are going to get what? Positive. So what do I mean by this ratio? So let me also add one more. Negative divide by, if we are dividing by negative, the answer becomes positive, and then it's going to become positive. And negative divide by negative, positive, the answer is going to become negative. So what, even if you say negative divide by positive divide by negative, the answer will be negative. What exactly do I mean by those, what I just wrote there? Let me show you what we mean. So when we say negative, negative multiplied by negative, it can be, for example, 2, negative 2, you are multiplying by what? Negative 3. So negative 2 multiplied by negative 2, your answer is going to be positive. It means that when you say negative 2 times 3 is going to be 6. So because of here is negative and this one is negative, you know that your answer is going to be positive. But if it's negative 2, you are multiplying it, let's say, by 3, just 3. Here you have positive and here negative, and this side you have positive. So your answer is going to be negative what? 6. Those are those things that I just show you there, those operations. That's what it means. So let's say, for example, you have negative 10, you are divided by 2. 2. So because here you are dividing negative, divide by positive. We know the answer is going to be what? Negative. But you just have to say 10 divided by 2. How many times does 2 goes to 10? It goes 5 times. So which means is the answer, it will be negative 5. So if you have negative 10, for example, you are dividing it by negative 2. So the answer, because of is negative divided by negative, we know that is going to be positive. So you just have to say how many times does 2 goes to 10? It's going to be 5. So those are what I'm saying actually. So if we go back to our question, let's go back to our question. So in this question here, we managed to say, okay, we're going to say the bases are the same. Then we're going to keep the base, which is 10. Then it's going to be 3 minus 2. Because of here, when we put a bracket, it's like we are multiplying. So when we are multiplying, it's going to be like multiplication here. So it's going to be negative times negative. It's going to give us positive. So if when you write it, this is going to be like 10 to the power 3 plus what? Plus, because the answer is going to be positive, plus 2. So when you say plus 2, this is the same as 10 to the power 5. And 10 to the power 5 is the same as what? You can say 10 multiplied by 10 multiplied by 5 times. Remember, 10 multiplied by 10. How many times have I written 10? Let me check. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, again multiply by 10, which is 5 times. So 10 times 10 is very simple for 10. You just check how many. 10 times 10 is going to be 100. 100 times 10 is going to be 1,000. 1,000 times 10 is going to be 10,000. 10,000 times 10 is going to be 100,000. You can just write 1 if the amount you are is just 10, 1, 1, 10, 10. Then you count the zeros 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which means it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They are zeros, not 6 here. Let me write it properly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So those are the zeros of what? Those are the zeros is 100,000. So it's when you are dividing. So if you are dividing, sometimes you might be dividing, for example, the bases are not the same. Let's use when the bases are not the same. Let's say you are dividing 3 to the power 2. You are dividing by 2 to the power 1. Sometimes it can be 10. It depends. So you don't have to. This is not equals to you keep 3. You say this is 3 to the power 2 minus what? Minus this one. It's wrong. Minus 1. This is wrong. Because if the bases are the same, you just leave it as it is. But you can just solve it. You know that 3 to the power 2 is going to be 3. Multiply by what? 3. Then divide by 2 to the power 1 is just the same as 2. So you can just write like that. Then you say how many 2 times 3 is going to give you 6. Not 6, is going to give us 9. Let's write 9 there. It's going to give us 9. When it gives us 9, it's going to be 9 divided by 2. So 9 divided by 2, probably if you use your calculator, it's going to be 4.5. Yeah, it's going to be 4.5 in your calculator. It's 4.5. If you use your calculator, you can check that, or let me check with you right now if indeed we're going to get 4.5, but it's very simple. Indeed, it's 4.5. So that's how we work with this division. So if you are dividing and the base are not the same, you don't do that. You just you can multiply them. And sometimes let me give you, or let me do one more example with the, let me do one more example with what? With the, when we are dividing. Let's say we have 10 to the power 3. Okay, 10 to the power 3 divided by 3 to the power 2. So if you see here, these bases, they are not the same. So what I can do, I can say 10 multiply by 10 multiply by 10 divide by 3 multiply by 3. So we know that 10 times 10 is going to be 1,000 there. Divide by 3 times 3 is 9. going to be 9. Undo 9. So this one, you can use a calculator to get this answer. So that's how you can work it out. So do you have any question based on what we just did today so far? If you have any question, can you please kindly ask? All right. So, all right, I'm gonna be listening. Okay, it seems like you don't have any question. So we have covered the multiplication based on the exponents, and we also covered also the bases based on the division. So today we covered about the number. So the next class we are going to cover about what? About the variables or letters when we are using letters. So as you don't have any question, I'm gonna stop here, but I'm going before I stop, I want to say something. So guys, we're gonna I heard that there is a BNU assignment. We're gonna deal with it in the class. We're gonna work through it. And then also those who haven't joined the classes, you are still welcome to join these classes. And thank you guys for being here. And if you would love to join the classes, also my number, they will be down in the description below. My number is 07233 You can WhatsApp me in my number. So guys, thank you very much for attending this class, and I will catch you up in the next video. Have a good day. Bye.